The investigation team found their tent, but it was torn. The fabric of the tent had been ripped from the inside, as the threads were hanging outside. It seemed that the hikers, in a state of fear, had torn the tent and fled. Some footprints of both shoes and bare feet were found, imprinted in the snow. The hiker's camera was also found, along with some strange photographs. Despite the complete criminal investigation and entries in the register every day, this case has remained unsolved for the last 65 years. This is the story of the Mountain of the Dead, and the incident is remembered as the Dyatlov Pass Incident. Welcome once again to Discover TV's videos. On the morning of January 23, 1959, a hiking team of 10 people boarded a train and set off towards the Ural Mountain range in Siberia. This group consisted of 8 boys and 2 girls, with Igor Dyatlov as the group leader. They kept a register with them, in which they were recording every moment. During the train journey, the group leader, Igor Dyatlov, made an entry in the register, which translates to, "I am surprised. What new things await us on this journey? What is going to happen?" Over the next few days, the group traveled by train, bus, truck, and horses, and eventually continued their journey on foot and by skiing. One of the hikers fell ill and decided to turn back, while the remaining 9 continued on their journey. These are the last photos taken when Yuri parted from his 9 companions, but little did he know that this would be the last time he saw them. The group of 9 continued their journey through the snowy valleys, documenting every moment with cameras in the register. The photos and entries in the register appeared normal up until February 1st, when they reached the bottom of a mountain, which the locals referred to as the Mountain of the Dead. They spent the whole day climbing the mountain and finally decided to camp just a few meters from the summit. These are the last few photos recovered from their camera, and the final entry in the register at that time translates to, "It is hard to imagine such tranquility on the mountains, hundreds of kilometers away from human settlements, with strong winds." Everything that happened next was written in their register, but what happened afterward remains a mystery. The expedition was supposed to take a total of 16 days, and they had told their friends and family that they would telegraph their well-being upon their return. But 15 days had passed, and there was still no word from them. Eventually, a search group was formed, and on February 26th, they managed to locate the missing hikers' camp at the foot of the mountain. Seeing the camp, it was evident that something terribly wrong had happened. The tent was covered with a thin layer of snow, and inside, the hikers' equipment was in good condition, but the fabric of the tent had been ripped open from the inside with a knife. It seems something had happened inside the tent that forced them to tear it open and flee. The following day, a search for the hikers began in the surrounding area. Near the torn tent, some footprints were found in the snow, leading downward from the mountain. The footprints included shoe marks and bare feet. The investigation team noted that the footprints were not long strides, but normal steps. The footprints continued for about 500 meters, but then disappeared, possibly hidden by later snowfall. The team continued in the direction of the footprints and soon reached a cedar tree. Here, they found signs of a burnt-out bonfire in the frozen bodies of Yuri Krivonishenko and Yuri Doroshenko. It took the next 2 months to find the bodies of the remaining hikers. The first 2 hikers had very little clothing on: no jackets, no pants, no gloves, no hats, or shoes, just light shirts and underpants. Weather archives showed that the temperature at the time of their deaths was around -30 degrees Celsius. Their clothing was more suitable for summer, which raised the question of why they were dressed so lightly. Strange marks were also found on a nearby cedar tree, where the branches were broken as if the hikers had tried to climb it in desperation during the night. The bodies of the next 3 hikers were found buried in the snow between the tent and the cedar tree. They were wearing slightly warmer clothes but still had no shoes or gloves. The direction of their footprints suggested they were heading toward the tent, but collapsed along the way, possibly exhausted. Their bodies showed some signs of injuries, but the doctors stated their cause of death was hypothermia, which is a condition where the body loses all its warmth after prolonged exposure to cold. The bodies of the last 4 hikers were found beneath a rock in the forest. Their exact location was 75 meters in the opposite direction of the cedar tree. 3 of them had severe injuries, 1 with a cracked skull and 2 with broken ribs. The medical examiner believed these injuries were not caused by any human or animal attack but rather from falling from a great height. 2 of them had missing eyes, and 1 had a missing tongue. Most shockingly, 2 t-shirts and a pair of pants found at the crime scene were contaminated with radioactive material. Initially, investigators thought these hikers might have been murdered, but on May 28th, the criminal case was closed, as there was no evidence to support that theory. What actually happened to these 9 hikers? Why did they cut open the tent and flee? What emergency could have forced them to tear the tent open and leave? Why did they wear such thin clothes in freezing conditions? The investigation team explored various angles. At one point, an avalanche theory was considered, but it didn't hold because if an avalanche had occurred, the tent would have been buried under a thick layer of snow, and the group leader, Igor Dyatlov, was an experienced skier who would not have set up camp in such a risky location. The real question remains, what truly happened at Dyatlov Pass? Why did they tear open the tent from the inside? How did some hikers sustain such dangerous injuries, and why were they dressed so lightly in freezing conditions, despite being experienced hikers? To uncover the truth, we turn to the tent, which is the key to understanding the mystery. 1 or 2 nights before the incident, a photo showed an exhaust pipe coming out of the tent. This exhaust pipe and the stove inside the tent were built by the group leader, Dyatlov. They used the stove on the night of the incident, as cooked food was found inside the tent. It's possible that when the exhaust pipe was closed, burning coals remained inside, causing a fire to flare up again. When the tent was found, the exhaust pipe was not attached, indicating that if there had been a fire, the smoke would not have escaped, but instead, it would have accumulated inside, suffocating the hikers. This could explain why they tore open the tent and fled. Evidence supports this theory, as burn marks were found on the hikers' bodies and clothing, and some had blood coming from their mouths. After escaping the tent, they started walking calmly, possibly to find shelter. Some hikers, without warm clothes, went to the trees, where they started a bonfire. The ashes of the fire were found near the cedar tree. For hikers, wearing more clothes, ventured deeper into the forest to find firewood. There, a small avalanche triggered, causing them to fall and suffer severe injuries. 2 hikers, who were dressed lightly, remained near the cedar tree. The remaining 3 hikers tried to return to the tent, but collapsed and froze along the way. As for the radioactive particles on the clothing, it was found that one of the hikers, Alexander Kolevatov, worked at a nuclear facility, and Yuri Krivonishenko worked at a top-secret Soviet nuclear plant. The radioactive clothing was found to belong to these 2 hikers, while the rest had normal levels of radioactive elements. It's also possible that when they were injured, wild animals attacked them while they were fighting for their lives. It has been 65 years since this incident. Of the 10 members of the group, only Yuri Dyatlov survived, having left the expedition due to illness. He died of natural causes at the age of 76 on April 27, 2013. We hope you will like and share this video by Discover TV, and thank you for your love and comments. See you in the next incredible video.